I came to say goodbye, Ethan.
He buried your name already. Leave before this gets worse for you.
You never listened, Joon-ho, but I still loved you.
Place the pin and step back. Do not cause a scene.
Tell me I'm not imagining this right now.
Amara, don't trust Ethan. Get away from him now.
At 11:47 on a bright Saturday morning, Amara Brooks walked into the glass funeral chapel carrying two things no one expected to see together, a 7-month pregnancy and a silver crane pin. Every head turned. At the front of the chapel, Kang Joon-ho lay inside an open black casket beneath white lilies. 3 days earlier, New York had been told the Korean Mafia Boss was dead. Amara had been told something worse. She had been told never to come back. Ethan Park stepped into her path before she reached the first row. His voice was calm, but his eyes were not. You should leave before people remember what you did to him. Amara rested one hand over her stomach. I remember exactly what I did. I loved him. A whisper moved through the room. Traitor. Gold digger. Mistress. The words were not loud, but they were meant to reach her. Amara kept walking. She stopped beside Joon-ho's casket, opened her palm, and placed the silver crane pin beside his hand. Then his little finger moved. Amara froze. The lilies trembled in the air from the chapel vents. His finger moved again. And Joon-ho opened his eyes. Subscribe to Light Romance Stories, like this video, and comment where you're watching from. Stay close. Joon-ho's first words change everything. Joon-ho's eyes struggled to focus. His breathing was shallow. The room erupted behind Amara, but he stared only at her. Then he whispered, "Don't trust Ethan." Ethan's face lost all color. Within seconds, the private medical team that had been waiting outside rushed forward. Guests were pushed back. Cameras were blocked. The funeral ended without a burial. But the real mystery had just begun. 6 hours later, Joon-ho was awake inside a private recovery suite at his Westchester estate. Sunlight poured through tall windows. Security stood outside every door. Amara stood near the far window with her coat still on. Joon-ho watched her for a long time. His first clear question was not about his business. It was not about the funeral. It was about her stomach. How far along? 7 months. His jaw tightened. Is the baby mine? Amara looked at him with a pain so quiet it made the question sound crueler than he intended. Yes. He closed his eyes. 7 months meant she had been pregnant when he accused her of betraying him. 7 months meant she had carried his child alone after he ordered her out of his life. 7 months meant he had lost more than time. Months earlier, Amara had been the forensic accountant hired to clean the books of Hanul Meridian, the legitimate logistics empire that hid the public face of Joon-ho's criminal organization. She was brilliant, stubborn, and unimpressed by expensive suits. That was what first caught his attention. Their relationship grew in secret because Joon-ho believed affection was a weakness his enemies could use. Amara hated secrecy. Still, she loved the man beneath the title. Then she found irregular transfers moving through shell vendors connected to Ethan, Joon-ho's cousin and second-in-command. Before she could complete her audit, confidential ledgers appeared online using Amara's credentials. Joon-ho believed she had leaked them. She denied it. He demanded proof. She had none. And in the worst argument of their relationship, he said the sentence she never forgot. If I cannot trust you, I cannot love you. Amara left the estate that afternoon. 2 weeks later, she discovered she was pregnant. She never told him. Not because she wanted revenge. Because she refused to let her child become another test she had to pass. Now Joon-ho looked at her from the recovery bed and asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" Amara's answer came without hesitation. "Because you had already decided what kind of woman I was." He had no defense. A soft knock interrupted them. Mina Cho, Joon-ho's chief legal strategist, entered carrying a sealed folder. Mina had been the only person inside Joon-ho's circle who never believed Amara leaked the files. She placed the folder on the table. "The hospital record was altered," she said. "The doctor who certified your death used a temporary contract identity. That identity disappeared this morning." Joon-ho looked at Ethan's empty chair across the room. Amara's fingers closed around the silver crane pin. Mina noticed. "Where did you get that?" Amara glanced down. Joon-ho gave it to me the day before everything fell apart. Joon-ho frowned. No. I gave you that pin 6 months before the leak. Amara stared at him. He was right. So why did her memory tell her she had received it on the day of their breakup? And why was there a fresh scratch across the back? Subscribe, like, and comment where you're watching from. Stay with Amara, because what she finds next reveals who the real traitor is. Mina took the silver crane pin under a desk light. At first it looked ordinary. Then she pressed the scratched edge. The back clicked open. Inside was a tiny encrypted memory card. Joon-ho sat forward. He used crane pins for one reason only. They were physical keys to private backups stored outside the company network. But this pin had never been assigned to Amara. Someone had switched it. Mina connected the card to an offline reader. A series of access logs appeared. They showed that Amara's credentials had been copied from a terminal inside Ethan's private office. The leak had never come from Amara. It had been staged. Joon-ho said nothing. His face hardened, but Amara did not feel victorious. She felt tired. He looked at her. I was wrong. Yes. I should have believed you. Yes. I destroyed us. Amara swallowed. You destroyed trust. Us is something you no longer get to define alone. That sentence landed harder than anger. Joon-ho had survived enemies, raids, betrayals, and a funeral. But he had no strategy for a woman who still loved him and no longer surrendered her dignity to that love. For years, Joon-ho had treated trust like a locked door. People earned entry slowly, and one mistake put them outside forever. He had called that survival. Amara had called it fear wearing an expensive suit. Now he finally understood the difference. He remembered the afternoon he accused her. She had not begged. She had stood in his office with tears in her eyes and asked one simple question. If a stranger can plant one file and erase everything you know about me, what exactly have we been building? He had refused to answer. Now the answer embarrassed him. They had been building love on top of suspicion. Amara could see the regret on his face, but she refused to rescue him from it. Regret was not punishment. It was information. What mattered was what he chose to do next. Joon-ho looked toward the window. I cannot undo that day. No. But I can stop asking you to carry the cost alone. That was the first apology Amara believed, not because it sounded beautiful, but because it asked for nothing in return. He asked Mina to bring Ethan in. Mina did not move. He's gone. Security footage showed Ethan leaving the estate minutes after Joon-ho opened his eyes. He had taken no luggage. He had taken one locked document case. And he had left behind a message. Tell Amara the baby will never inherit what belongs to me. For the first time, Joon-ho's fear became visible. Amara saw it. Not fear for his empire. Fear for their unborn child. Joon-ho ordered more guards around her. Amara refused. I'm not moving into a cage because you finally realized I matter. It is not a cage. It becomes one when you make every decision. He stopped. Then, slowly, he nodded. What do you need? It was the first time he had asked instead of ordered. I need the truth, she said. All of it. So Joon-ho told her what he remembered. The day before his reported death, Ethan had called him to a private luncheon in Manhattan. No threats. No argument. Just tea, documents, and a proposal to transfer temporary authority while Joon-ho dealt with the leaked ledgers. Joon-ho refused. An hour later, he became dizzy. His last clear memory was reaching for his jacket and realizing his usual crane pin was missing. Then darkness. He woke inside the casket. Amara's hand shook. The pin was switched before you collapsed. Yes. And whoever switched it expected the card to disappear with me. Joon-ho looked at her. Why you? Amara remembered the anonymous funeral invitation that arrived at her apartment. No return address. No signature. Just one sentence. You deserve to see how your betrayal ended. She had almost thrown it away. Instead, she came because she needed one final goodbye. Now the invitation felt different. It was not cruelty. It was bait. Someone wanted her at the funeral. Someone wanted the room to see the pregnant woman everyone believed had betrayed Joon-ho. Someone wanted a public scandal ready before Joon-ho was buried. Later that afternoon, Amara sat alone in the estate library while sunlight stretched across the wooden floor. Joon-ho entered slowly. No guards. No commands. He placed a cup of ginger tea beside her. You used to drink this when you were stressed. I still do. He sat across from her. I don't expect forgiveness. Good. But I want the chance to become someone who deserves it. Amara looked at him. You cannot protect me from the damage you caused by pretending the damage never happened. I know. No, Joon-ho. You are learning. He accepted that too. Then he said, when I heard your voice beside the casket, I thought I was still dreaming. Amara's eyes softened. What did you hear? You said you loved me. She looked away. I did not say I forgave you. I know. For the first time in months, they smiled at the same moment. It was small. But it was real. Then Mina entered with bad news. Ethan had scheduled an emergency board gathering for the next morning. He planned to declare Joon-ho medically unfit, seize control of Hanul Meridian, and present Amara as the woman whose betrayal triggered Joon-ho's collapse. Worse, Ethan had circulated a private paternity report claiming Joon-ho was not the father of Amara's baby. Amara laughed once. Not because it was funny. Because she finally understood his plan. He does not need people to believe every lie, she said. He only needs them confused long enough to take control. Joon-ho stood. Then tomorrow we end the confusion. Amara stopped him. No. Tomorrow I do. Subscribe, like, and comment where you're watching from. Stay with Amara now. The funeral was only the first part of Ethan's plan. The next morning, bright sun flooded the Hanul Meridian boardroom. Ethan entered expecting frightened executives. Instead, he found Joon-ho seated at the head of the table. Alive. Amara sat 2 chairs away. Mina stood beside a large display. Ethan recovered quickly. He smiled. A dramatic recovery does not erase what happened. Joon-ho said nothing. Amara did. You're right. She placed the silver crane pin on the table. Ethan's smile vanished. Amara explained the copied credentials. Mina displayed the access logs. Ethan denied everything. He claimed anyone could have used his office. Then Amara placed the anonymous funeral invitation beside the pin. The paper came from Hanul Meridian's private executive stationery, she said. Only 4 people had access. Ethan shrugged. Still not proof. Amara nodded. That's why I brought the rest. She turned to Mina. A second file appeared on the screen. The memory card did not contain only access logs. It contained an automatic backup from the executive conference room. Ethan had forgotten that the Crane security system created encrypted audio notes whenever a leadership transfer document was opened. The recording captured Ethan speaking with the temporary doctor. Not discussing Joon-ho's death, planning it. They had used a controlled substance to make Joon-ho appear unresponsive long enough for a false death certification. Ethan intended to take control before anyone questioned the paperwork. But that was not the nuclear twist. The recording continued. Ethan's voice said, make sure the invitation reaches Amara. I want the room to see her pregnant. Once Joon-ho is gone, I'll say the child is not his. No air. No challenge. The boardroom went silent. Amara's face changed. The humiliation at the funeral had been designed. The whispers had been planted. The fake paternity report had been prepared before anyone even knew how far along she was. Ethan had not simply tried to steal Joon-ho's empire. He had built an entire story in which Amara became the villain and her unborn child became evidence against her. Joon-ho rose slowly. But Amara lifted one hand. No. He stopped. She looked directly at Ethan. You wanted me ashamed of being here. You wanted my child treated like a scandal. You wanted him to doubt me twice. Ethan's confidence cracked. Amara continued. But you made one mistake. You thought pain makes women easier to control. Mina opened the boardroom doors. Federal financial investigators and company security entered together. They had been waiting outside with warrants connected to the forged transfers, identity fraud, and financial conspiracy revealed by the audit trail. Ethan looked at Joon-ho. You're choosing her over blood. Joon-ho's answer was quiet. No. I'm choosing truth over you. Ethan was escorted out without another word. Subscribe, like, and comment where you're watching from. Stay to the end, because justice is only half of what Amara deserves. 3 weeks later, Joon-ho asked Amara to meet him in the same glass chapel where his funeral had been held. She almost refused. But curiosity won. The casket was gone. The lilies were gone. The chairs were gone. In their place stood a small table beneath the bright windows. On it sat the silver crane pin. Joon-ho stood several feet away. He did not approach her until she nodded. I used to think protection meant controlling every danger around the people I loved, he said. Amara watched him carefully. And now? Now I think protection begins by respecting their choices. He handed her a folder. It contained signed documents removing his control over the trust created for their child. Amara would share equal authority. No hidden conditions. No loyalty tests. No requirement that she return to him. She looked up. You did this without knowing whether I would forgive you? Yes. Why? Because being the father our child deserves cannot depend on whether you love me back. For the first time, Amara's eyes filled with tears. Not because the gesture erased the past. It did not. But because he had finally done something loving without using love as leverage. She picked up the silver crane pin. I hated this thing for months. So did I. It proved you were wrong. It also proved you were right. Amara studied him. You know, one good decision does not rebuild trust. I know. And I am not moving back into your estate. I know. And I decide what happens with my life. Yes. She stepped closer. But you can come to my next doctor's appointment. Joon-ho's expression broke into the smallest, most relieved smile she had ever seen. That is enough. No, Amara said. It is a beginning. Months later, Joon-ho was no longer running his world the same way. He separated Hanul Meridian from the criminal network that had defined his family for years. The process cost him power, allies, and money. He did it anyway. Amara returned to forensic work on her own terms. She did not become his employee again. She became the woman who could stand beside him without standing beneath him. When their daughter was born, they named her Nari. On the day they brought her home, Amara found the silver crane pin inside a small wooden box. Beside it was a note from Joon-ho. No secrets. No tests. No cages. Only truth. Amara carried the box to the balcony where Joon-ho waited in the morning sun. He looked nervous. That amused her. The Korean Mafia boss who once made rooms fall silent now looked terrified of one woman's answer. Amara took his hand. I forgive you, she said. He breathed out. But forgiveness is not permission to become the old you again. I know. She smiled. Good. He smiled back. And this time, when he kissed her forehead, there was no empire between them. Only a second chance they had both chosen. Sometimes love does not prove itself by surviving betrayal. Sometimes it proves itself by changing after the truth arrives. And sometimes the person who opens his eyes at a funeral still has to learn how to truly see the woman standing beside him. If this story touched you, subscribe to Light Romance Stories, like the video, turn on notifications, and tell us in the comments, could you have forgiven Joon-ho after what he did?